Welcome to this week's episode of Analyzing Chazal. This week we'll be analyzing a Rashi on this week's parsha, Parshas Viexi. Let's go to the pasuk. Perek Memches pasuk Zayin. The pasuk says, "Vani bevo'i mi padan meso alai rochel be'eretz Kinan baderech ba'od kivras eretz lovo efrosa v'ekbarei Hashem bederech efros hi beis lachem." When I was traveling from Padan to Eretz Yisrael, Rachel died on the way in Eretz Yisrael, a distance away from Ephrata, and I buried her there on the road to Ephrat, which is Beis Lechem. Explanation of the pasuk. The pasuk is teaching us that Yaakov was explaining to Yosef the circumstances that caused him to have to bury Rachel on the road between cities and not inside any particular city. Rashi. V'lo holachtia afilo lebeis lechem lachnisa laaretz vidati sheyesh belivcha alai aval da lecha shal pia dibor kivarti Hashem. I did not even bury her in the city of Beis Lechem, and I know that you have bad feelings towards me over the burial, but know that I buried her there due to direct command from God. The explanation of Rashi. Rashi is explaining to us the reason that Yaakov felt the need to tell Yosef the reason that he buried Rachel on the road was that he knew that Yosef held a grudge in his heart against Yaakov for not giving his mother what he considered to be a proper burial. The type of question we'll be using is one where an assumption is being made that on the surface would seem to be incorrect. Let's stop for a minute. Now that you know the type of question we'll be using and the information we already have, can you come up with the question yourself? Okay, here's the question. Rashi tells us that Yaakov told Yosef that I know that you are holding a grudge against me for not giving your mother what you considered a proper burial. How is it even possible to think that Yosef would be holding a grudge against his father and would not just assume that Yaakov had a good reason for burying Rachel on the road? This should be the case for multiple reasons. First, Yaakov loved Yosef more than any of his other children, and Yosef felt the same as towards Yaakov, and he would know that Yaakov would never do something that would hurt him. Furthermore, all the sons of Yaakov knew that Yaakov loved Rachel more than any of his wives, and certainly would not do anything to hurt her. This being the case, why would Yaakov say to Yosef, I know in your heart you hold a grudge against me? The answer. As we always say, the answer comes from the question, which was, why would Yaakov assume that Yosef would be holding a grudge in his heart when all the facts would seem to point that Yosef would not come to holding a grudge against Yaakov? The answer can be that we do not understand the power of emotions to override logic. Certainly, if you ask Yosef about the burial of Rachel, he would say that Yaakov would never do anything to hurt us, and therefore there must have been a reason for it. But deep down, there was an emotional feeling of pain that would override his logic. And Yaakov knew it was there and that he had to address it with him before he died. The practical application. In our lives, many times we might say or do something to someone which on the surface might not seem to bother them, and they might even say so. But we need to always be on the lookout for the possibility that there might be a deep layer of pain that we caused for which we will need to ask forgiveness. Even more importantly, though, we need to be super aware of what we say and do, as even if we think it is super innocent, it might actually cause someone pain, and therefore, we always have to think twice before we act or speak to truly ensure we will not be inadvertently hurting someone else. Have a wonderful Shabbos, and we'll see you next week for Parshas Shmos.